All right, Luka Doncic's trade to the Lakers marks the fifth instance of a player changing teams the season after earning first-team All-NBA honors and making the NBA Finals. The last time this happened was when LeBron signed with the Lakers as a free agent after he won the title with the Cavs in 2018. He also did it when he signed with the Cavs in 2014 after the Heat lost to the Spurs in the Finals. All right, it's a rare occasion. Got all my guys together. We got Mad Dog on a Monday. Mad Dog, thank you so much for joining us. You get to share the screen with Shannon Sharpe once again. Mad Dog, I want to start with you. Visceral reaction when you heard about this trade.
Good morning, everybody. Yes.
Good morning.
Hello, Shannon. Hello, Molly. And hello, Stevie. First off, it was a jolt the NBA needed. This was a great story for the NBA, start of Super Bowl week. They also have the other trade later on, which helps too. But listen, this guy is a top 3, top 4 player in the NBA, in the league. We all know that. He's a superstar. I understand he's, who knows? Is he 260 pounds? And then you got the Lakers, who is the NBA marquee franchise, they and the Celtics. So, to me, it was a perfect storm for the National Basketball Association in which they needed. And listen, anytime you can get this kind of player who is 6 years or 5.5 years younger than Anthony Davis, L.A., which is full of stars, that sells in that market. He can replace LeBron down the road when LeBron retires in a year or two. This is he's not perfect because you got to wonder a little bit about the conditioning issues, but this is a great trade for the Lakers. And most of the time, if you look at the history of the NBA, when the team acquires the great player, think Lakers with Kareem, that, of course, with that trade they made with the Bucks in the early 70s, when they acquire the great player, most of the time, the team that acquires the great player wins out on the deal. So, listen, I can understand why the Maverick fans going crazy right now in Dallas. These kind of players don't grow on trees. He's 26 years of age. He'd be completely motivated to play with LeBron and in that market. I wonder about Anthony Davis and Kyrie, 32 and 33 years of age, working together in Dallas. They're not going to win an NBA championship. So this is a home run. And again, Dallas did not make this trade. The GM didn't make the trade. The owner made the trade. The owner did not want to have to deal with paying him $347 million. He sees what's going on with Butler. He don't want to pay him that kind of money when he's got some issues with his character. So they said, get him out. We'll deal with, and then it's the owner who makes, the GM didn't make. You don't make this kind of trade if you're the GM without running by new ownership. So the ownership kind of signed off on this. And for whatever the reason, they soured on him with all these injuries and his weight issues. And so out he goes. Lakers won the trade. There's no other way around it. Are they going to win the NBA championship? No. But as far as the long-term future of the franchise for the Lakers, it's a home run.
Yeah, Matt, I'm glad you... Oh.
I'm sorry.
I was going to go in a different direction, but Shannon, do you want to react? I wanted to focus on Anthony Davis. Do you want to react to what Mad Dog just said, though, about the owners making the trade?
No, everything Mad Dog has said is true. I mean, anytime somebody's willing to trade you a 25-year-old, 5-time first-team All-NBA player, I don't know if people know this. He has the third highest scoring average in NBA history. Behind Jordan, behind Wilt, at 28.9, if I'm not mistaken, is Luka Doncic.
And number 2 in the postseason.
Excuse me, Stephen?
I said number 2 in the postseason
behind Jordan.
Yeah. All right, so let's focus on Anthony Davis now, Shannon. That's where I want to come to you on. Then I'm sorry if you're just in agreement with
go ahead.
Mad Dog and lockstep. As far as Anthony Davis, how does this trade impact him?
You know what? If you go back and study it, guys, Anthony Davis had some of his best years when Rajon Rondo was his point guard in New Orleans. Pick and roll, he can pick and pop, he can shoot, he can post up. He wanted to play the 4. Now, Nico says at closing time, he'll be the 5, but he got bigs and Lively. He got bigs in Daniel Gafford, so he can start at the 4. Those guys can play the 5, but when it's crunch time, he slides to the 5. That's what he wanted to say. Now, Lakers, maybe you hear things, Stephen A. and Dog, that the Lakers held that against him. They didn't feel that they needed another big. He should have been the number 1 option. But it's hard to be the number 1 option when LeBron is there. D. Wade was the number 1 option in Miami, but he wasn't when LeBron got there. Kevin Love was the number 1 option, but he wasn't when he paired with LeBron. Chris Bosh was the number 1 option, but he wasn't when he paired. It's hard to ask Anthony Davis to be the number 1 option when LeBron James is on the floor. It's just hard, and I don't know what people don't understand about that. And I'm interested, as you said, Molly, how this is going to work when both guys are more effective with the ball in their hands. Now, I do believe LeBron can play better off the ball than Luka, but that remains to be seen. But I think Anthony Davis is going to do well with Kyrie in the pick and roll, because even when Rondo came to the Lakers, guys, if you remember, he and Rondo had a rapport in the pick and roll, throwing the lob, the pick and pop. So I'm not really concerned about Anthony Davis, and I think he's the last couple of years, Stephen A., he's been relatively healthy. Yes, he got banged up. He has that abdominal strain, and it remains to be seen how long he's going to be out. But they traded, both guys are injured and not going to be back maybe a week or two before they both come back. But I think AD is going to be just fine.
To look, and Doggy, I think you missed this part. I've got Dallas as the #1 seed in the Western Conference when all of this is said and done. For this reason, Oklahoma City is clearly the creme de la creme right now. You see the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is balling. You see the supplementary parts around them like Williams and Dort and others. You know that Holmgren and Hartenstein will both be available. You're assuming they'll be available come playoff time, right? But when the Dallas Mavericks recently had a losing streak and they had lost like 5 of 7 games, right? 2 of those victories came against Oklahoma City. They have their number. They beat Oklahoma City in the postseason last year. So what do? They have Hartenstein, and you go out and you get Anthony Davis. That's what you do. Now we've got a front line with Lively, Gafford, Hartenstein. They kept P.J. Washington. Let's not forget that. That's a pivotal pick for them, right? Not only do you have Kyrie Irving, who's now your point guard, but essentially Klay Thompson, who's having an off year, according to his standards, is still shooting better than 38% from three-point range. This is who we're talking about here. And so when you look at the Dallas Mavericks, you have size, you have shooting, you have offensive firepower, and you have prowess defensively because you've added Anthony Davis. So that's been upgraded. When you look at the Western Conference, whether it's Jokic in Denver, whether it's Hartenstein and Holmgren in OKC, if Houston's a bit young, they're on a come-up, make no mistake about it, but they're a bit young. Memphis is right there, but still knocking on the door. You just look at this move right here. It is entirely plausible that the Dallas Mavericks, can come out of the Western Conference. Now, you might look at Boston and Cleveland in the East, and to a lesser degree, my Knicks, and you see the way these guys can shoot the basketball, particularly from the perimeter, and you say, how will Dallas deal with that? That is a question mark. But in terms of the Western Conference and what they have to face, when Nico Harrison sits up there and says, I think this move propels us, and we're talking about this window here where we're trying to win a championship, it does make sense. It doesn't make sense to lose a 25-year-old international, global, iconic basketball superstar. No, that doesn't make sense. But when you look at Luka holding on to the basketball, being ball dominant, and folks standing around playing the role of spectator, and how that's going to fare for you, when you see these teams on the come up, or somebody like OKC who's already there, it might be to your detriment. Now you've got the offense going through Kyrie and Anthony Davis with somebody like PJ and Klay Thompson on the wing now. They didn't have a shooter last year. They've got one now. Now you've got size on your front line as well, and your defense has escalated enormously. You're much more better defensively now. It's gotten very, very interesting in Dallas when it comes to the championship picture for this season, in my opinion.
Well, I totally disagree with that, Stevie. Last year, they got to the finals with Doncic because he made so many big shots. Go look at that Minnesota series.
Sure.
You need guards in these tournaments. The ball's in their hands. How much better can they do with Anthony Davis? They played Boston, and they won a game against the Celtics. Plus, Stevie, how about the psychological impact of this? You got everybody in Dallas hating this trade. There's going to be no feel. There's no good chemistry.
I think that works.
You got Irving now, and I got to see Irving. Irving now, let me see how he handles this. And, Thompson's old. I mean, he's going to be consistent from the perimeter in big games in the month of April and May. I got to see that. Plus, how about the age? These are not 2 Iron Men. One's 32, one's 33, and they miss a lot of games. That's another issue. And, again, on how they play. They only got 30 games to figure out how they're going to handle this and how they're going to play. I don't buy it. I think, and they're going to be a lower seed because they're already the 6th or 7th spot. I know you came up with an interesting scenario with the 4 bigs. Davis is happy as the forward. Thompson's going to play like the old Klay Thompson. Kyrie motivated. I understand what you're trying to do. I got to see that. Last year, that team beat Minnesota in 5 games, beat OKC in 6 games, beat the Clippers in 6 games, played pretty well against Boston, basically the best team in the league, and they won a game. How are they going to do that much better? I don't understand how they're going to do that much better. Plus, psychologically, this is a damaging blow to the franchise. They traded the second, take a number, after LeBron and after, you can figure out what number he is as far as the best player in the league is concerned. They traded a top 3, top 4 player in the league who's 6 years younger than Anthony Davis, and they traded him to the Lakers, and they got a 33-year-old guy left. Look at these signs. I don't buy it. I think the Mavericks are going to be in for a long road in the NBA postseason.
Well, listen, Shannon, I'll give it to you by saying this. You tell me that the ball is in Kyrie Irving's hands, the showstopper that he is capable of being. I'm not going to sneeze at that, okay? They didn't have a shooter last year. Again, Klay Thompson is not what he used to be. But even on the downside, he's better than most as a shooter, doggy. Statistically and literally speaking, we could see that. Now you're talking about size on your front line. And the reason that matters is because on the interior, defensively, you've improved by leaps and bounds. We didn't see that from Dallas last year. We saw a team that had to outscore you to beat you. They can assist in shutting you down now and patrolling the paint and making sure if you ain't an elite perimeter shooting team, what are you going to do against the likes of Dallas? They could make it very interesting. I'm not saying, I got to see it too, doggy. You're absolutely right. But let's understand, they could do it. They played 27 games without Luka this year, and Kyrie was excelling without Luka. Now he'll have Anthony Davis, who's a 25 and 12 player.
Before you jump in, Stephen A., like make it to the finals?
Yes.
Even though there's 8 teams ahead of them, 13 and a half games back. Okay.
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes. Go ahead, Shannon.
Ooh. Boy, that's awful presumptuous, Stephen A. I do love Kyrie and AD in the pick and roll. You look at Jamal Murray in the pick and roll with Yoke. You look at Dame in the pick and roll a lot sometimes with Giannis. I like this. I like the bigs. Stephen A., if you remember, doggy, you remember in the 2020 when they had JaVale, they had Dwight Howard, they had Anthony Davis, and it was very difficult to get shots up in the paint. You were not dominant, and they were dominating the backboards. I just don't know, Stephen A., if AD is enough to push them over the top in the Western Conference. Because after watching, and I've watched them for the last 10 games, OKC is legit. OKC is legit. Now, you might look at them and say, man, they ain't got nothing but Shea, but Jalen Williams, he made the All-Star team. He can flat out score. And they had another guy, Wiggins, who dropped 40.
Yes.
Though they are legit. And for the Mavericks to overtake them, Stephen A., I just don't see it. And you still got that beast out there in Denver. I don't know if you've noticed it, but Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the NBA until further notice.
Yeah. Mad Dog, I'll give you the final word here.
Listen, it's fun. I think Doncic and LeBron will be quite an act to watch these last 25, 30 games. But when you trade the great player in the history of all sports, when the best player goes somewhere else and you sort of pick up the pieces on the way, and I'm not knocking Anthony Davis, he's great. He's not Doncic. Doncic is an all-time great. Davis isn't. LA won the trade.
All right, fair enough. This was the first time in NBA history that a pair of players averaging 25 points per game traded for each other. Mad Dog, appreciate you. We will see you in New Orleans. Looking forward to it. Travel safe.
NBA